People, this has been going on since about 2019 in a boxing sense, where Saudi have had this plan to bring major sporting events to Saudi. Reason for that is because Saudi are promoting their region. They want it to be similar to what Dubai is, where there's heavy tourism there, because believe it or not, tourism is a major part of Dubai's income. Remember that. So Saudi have been trying to get Westerners to go to Saudi, and they started in boxing in 2019 with the Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz rematch. Now, at the time, a lot of these promoters were not working together. Boxing had actually been in the worst place it's ever been, in my lifetime anyway. In my lifetime, I believe boxing was now in the worst place it's ever been. The fights that we want to see, not happening. The best, not fighting the best. People fighting each other when they get too old. A side, B side, man's fighting bums for 10 fights, then trying to step up. Like, it was a joke. Let's keep it real. Saudi came in and they've linked up with Frank Warren. They've linked up with Eddie Hearn. They've linked up with Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya. They've linked up with Bob Arum, Top Rank. They've linked up with Ben Shalom, boxer. They've managed to come in and bring all these promoters together, something that couldn't have been done in decades. They've came in, brought these promoters together, and now we're seeing the fights that we want to see. You get me? You're seeing big fights happening. You're seeing everyone's getting in line. Now, I've always wondered, Saudi are spending so much money in this sport, almost ridiculous amounts of money that they'll never recoup. Never. And we've seen this in boxing before, but this is something completely different, where mans are getting 3 times the purses, in some cases 4 times the purses. Me personally spoke to a boxer who was on a Saudi card, and by him fighting on that card, it changed his life. He was able to purchase a new home, switch out his car, all of that, just for fighting on a Saudi fight. So that side of it is beautiful. But something said to me, what are Saudi getting out of this thing? What are they doing this for? Because you're spending 100 to make 5. So in my head, I'm like, what are you guys doing? I know you're trying to promote Saudi, and I know you've got money and all that, but this is not conducive. This is not a long-term model.
Nope.
So now we find out what it is they were building towards. So they have just announced a collaboration with the UFC's Dana White.
Well,
now,
before you
come through. We got time today.
We got time. We definitely got time,
man.
Because how you've laid it out is exactly. But let me take a step before that. Before they jumped in heavy with all this big money with the boxing, they were flirting and courting Mr. Dana White to bring. Oh, we'll have that. Initially, it was just Abu Dhabi they would go to. UFC was just going to Abu Dhabi. Now we're going to Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now we're going to this place. Now we're going to the rider season. We're connecting that. We're utilizing that brand. They're now paying for events, and they're canceling events, saying, no. We're paying for this thing. We want big names on it. So they've shuffled cards multiple times. So that was the feeler. And then also we can add to that the PGA Golf. We can add the soccer. We can add the F1. WWE. Come on. They have aggressively looked at sports entertainment and looked at the money that brings in, the eyes that brings in, the surrounding benefits for the
eyes, not money, Noble. Eyes. These guys don't need money at all.
No, not for them per se, but the associated industries who then tap into that to make their money. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, just look what they're doing with football. I know we're coming off topic a little, but look, Ivan Toney. £400,000 a week. These managers pay. They are paying. Now we finally find out. First of all, but you're right. What you're saying is right. They were flirting with the idea of sports previous to boxing. which is why I said 2019. That's when they stepped into boxing.
Yes.
But now we see what it was they were building towards. They were building towards a monopoly in boxing. That's what they're building towards. And they've announced their partnership with Dana White. People, Dana White, as much as the slack he gets, let's give him some credit where it's due, and we'll go into the other things after. Dana White took an organization, people, that was dying, that was on its last legs. He got some friends who had money to invest in this organization.
The Fertitta brothers.
The Fertitta brothers. And people, it's very difficult to put into words. It's crazy. But people, when I was going to UTC in Erdington, people, all these guys were training MMA. And unless you knew what the sport was, nobody knew it. I'm talking about people. I actually used to see these men training, I'm talking about Silk, Leon, Vaughn Lee, all these guys that have gone on to be world champions from Brum. I used to see them in UTC, kicking the bags, doing kickboxing, doing all this. And I'm like, what are these men doing? Like, there's no bread in this sport. Like, the boxers now, you'd see Frankie Gavin would pull up to the gym in a big boy whip, and he was just British level at the time. So I'm like, why are these men training this sport? There's nothing going on for it. The reason I'm explaining that is to tell you, no one cared about this sport. Nobody. Dana White has took that sport and made it front center stage. But what he's did is he's made it more about the organization more than the fighters. So let me break it down. If the UFC is coming to town, all a man needs to know is that the UFC is in town. I need tickets. They don't care who's fighting.
Yep.
If a boxing event's in town, man need to know who's fighting to buy tickets. You see the difference? So what the Saudis have done is brought in Dana and said, let's build a situation like this. We don't need the belts. What we need belts for, what we need sanctioning fee. He's made his own belt. But what he's did is he's almost tricked the promoters. So let me break it down. I need a little time on this.
Come with it, man. Come with it.
Back in the day, this is when I was a football fan, because as you guys know, I don't watch football no more. But back in the day, I was a big football fan. Arsenal, to be exact. And Arsene Wenger was the top manager in the Premier League, the top manager at the time. He's the only manager who went undefeated. Now, Real Madrid, which is a pretty Spanish team, legendary Spanish team, they wanted Arsene Wenger to manage them badly. So you know what they used to do? Every summer, they would offer him some ridiculous amount of money for him to take the job. And you know what Arsene Wenger would do? He would fly to Spain on a private plane. He would sit down with Real Madrid, listen to all their plans. We're going to buy this man. We're going to sell this man. We've got this pot to do this. We've got that. We've got this plan. And then he'd say, I'll think about it. Go and reject the job. Why he was doing that is because he was getting information. He was getting information out of them. And it took them years to finally realize, hold on a second, you're using us?
Yes.
Because that's how he was buying. Don't quote me on this, people. You'll have to do some research. But when they got Nicolas Anelka, who was a massive signing for Arsenal, that was based on one of those meetings. He was able to do a deal with Nicolas Anelka. Now, that is what the Saudis have done to boxing. Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, Oscar De La Hoya, all these guys got played. He brought them around and he gave them shiny trinkets and paid them more than what it was worth, but he knew what he was going to do. You know what he said in that rollout, Noble? He said, we're going to crush.
Yeah.
We're going to crush. Now, you think these are men that you was aligned with?
And was working with.
But this is what I'm saying now. Boxing people, this is where the money argument that I've been pushing for a long time comes in. Saudi knew that by overinflating prices and stuff, mans would go there all day, they'll do it. But them guys didn't understand that in the long run, he don't need you, man, no more. He don't need us. So now he's paid you double what it's worth, triple what it's worth, but now you man might be pushed out of boxing. Like, and let's be honest, he's got one thing that 99% of the world don't have, and that's an unlimited pot of money.
Pretty
So
much,
when
yeah.
yo, Noble, today's gonna be a legendary stream. Canelo, did you see that link I sent you? Canelo,
Yes.
we're gonna play it on the stream. Canelo had his WC belt, his WBC belt. You know what the Sheik said? Move that. This is Canelo, the biggest man in the sport. This is the face of boxing.
Yeah.
Canelo, I don't care what no man says. I'm a realist. It's not Tank. I rate Crawford, but it's not Crawford. It's none of them. The face of boxing, the richest brother in boxing,
Yeah.
is Canelo. And my man had the belt. And the Sheikh looked at Canelo, and Canelo asked him, should I bring this belt out? And he's gone, we're going to play it. We're going to play it in a second. He's gone like this. Nah, take that away. He's got his own belt. Now, two things. If Saudi plan on doing this long term, boxing could be a beautiful thing. If Saudi are in this for the long run, people, I feel like boxing has been made great again if these men are in it for the long run. However, are they in it for the long run? I've recently started to follow Turk Al Sheikh on Instagram. And you know one thing I've noticed, Noble? Every other day, there's a Tom Brady in there. There's a Shaquille O'Neal. There's a some Formula One driver. There's this. Because where these men lay their hats, they're home. They're not in this thing for the long run. So these men could come in and realize, yo, this model ain't working. We gone. Boxing will be in a worse state than what they found it in.
Yeah.
Or let's really understand something. When you look at the Saudi family, you only see Turk Al Sheikh. You don't see none of the others.
No, he's the front.
You don't see the man them with the what's that something that them sheiks wear, the wrap with the bit hanging off the back. You don't see them dons. You don't see the man. You don't see them. You just see him. Now let's just say, God forbid, something must happen to Turk Al Sheikh. Are those men as passionate about boxing as him? Are they going to continue it? So this is a very risky thing that we are seeing, people, because people come through, Noble, come through.
Just on that point that you just made. Yeah. Whether they have the passion or not, they've signed. How long's the deal? Is it a 2-year deal
with UFC?
Yeah. With TKO, technically it's signed with any TKO. I mean, it's a 2 to 3 year deal. So if the worst did happen, most time willing it doesn't, then that contract's already in place. The passion may not be there on their end, but all they're doing, think about it, take the passion away from it. This TKO deal, Mark, is financially only. They're funding everything. So it's just down to, in essence, the UFC under the TKO banner with Dana White's mindset is to now create this boxing league to choose it, to get these up and coming people, and then to do the super fights. But please do.
Okay, so what we gotta remember is this, people. Boxing was in a complete disgraceful place. It was terrible. I'm gonna keep it real. That's why I even started watching UFC. Like, I started watching UFC because I just want to see the best fight, the best, Noble. Like, I'm just a man who wants to see the best. Like, even if I'm just a competitive guy, even when I'm playing table tennis, I want the best.
Come on.
I don't want to play no man I want the best. I want man who's gonna try and slam it, and I want the best fighting, the best in all sports, in the Champions League, the best fight, the best. I mean, play the best in the World Cup. The two best teams get to the last stage, and play each other. But that weren't happening in boxing. So the Sheikhs came in, and he's threw a lot of money at this thing, but the man's got played for their love of money. They got played. The Arabs played them. They played them. Now, can Dana White and the Sheikh clean boxing up? Yes, they can, if they pay the right amount of money. If it's the UFC model, no chance. Boxing will be in a worse place.
So
come through, Noble. And Noble's a UFC expert. I'm talking about back in them days, people. What I'm talking about. Noble was watching UFC. Come through, Noble.
What you've just said is the truth. is the truth. What we've got to hope and pray for is that they don't employ the UFC model. Because the major difference, see, you've got it's a gift and a curse. The UFC has provided some excellent entertainment. We don't know the team have created some excellent stars, and the UFC. Remember when they sold for 3 point something a billion flipping pounds, like dollars even. Like it's crazy what's been done, but the way they've done that is by doing the opposite of what the boxing model is.